Good morning, everyone.
Good
Good
morning.
morning.
Good morning.
So this is the January 28th, 2022 organizational meeting for the Southold Local Development Corporation. We have a quorum. Let's see. Okay, John, do you want me to just dive right in?
Yes, please. Feel free.
So the agenda has been sent around to everybody previously. And as this, Steve, for your benefit, this is our annual meeting. So we go through some of the required annual
Compliance stuff. Thanks, Lisa.
We're going to do a lot more of our compliance stuff at the end of March, but this is sort of phase one of this process. So the first thing on the agenda, I just wanted to let everyone know that Frances was reappointed to the board. Her appointment expired, and so they reappointed her. So welcome back, Frances.
Thank you.
Didn't really go anywhere, but so I think we should probably just pass resolutions for each of these items. So the first resolution is, I guess, accepting the reappointment of Frances Walton.
I most so move.
Second.
Am I allowed to vote?
Aye.
Aye. I think
Aye.
we're fine.
Yeah.
Say 3-0 just in case.
Okay, I'm just going to say that Frances, I guess you recused, abstained. So now that that's official, the next resolution is the election of officers. Basically, you're just confirming that you want to remain in the same positions within the LDC.
It's okay with me.
Second.
It's
Okay, and we still have a vacant position, but do I have a motion?
so moved.
Second.
Aye.
Good to go.
Aye.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 The next item is committee elections. So we have three committees, the audit, finance, and governance. And historically, we have appointed all board members to all committees with the exception of the treasurer is not on the
Audit.
audit. Thank you. I was going to say finance audit committee. So that's how it's laid out now. Do we want to keep everything as is?
I think
So
that
moved,
works.
Yes.
Okay, so do I have a motion?
So moved.
John,
Second.
Francis, thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, the next item on the agenda is the appointment of corporate counsel. We really haven't needed our corporate counsel lately, but I think it's important that we have corporate counsel. So it's been Jasmine Schlesinger.
Yep.
Does anyone?
No, I would move to retain that appointment.
Second.
That was Jean?
Yes.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. The next one is the appointment of your executive director. So. Sorry.
And do we reappoint you every year? I've forgotten.
Yes,
Yes. Okay. So
Who's
moved.
the competition? Sorry. Second.
that was Francis and Steve.
Correct.
Yep.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Thank you, everyone. I like doing this.
We like
We
you too.
like that you like doing it.
The next item is the appointment of our auditors. So I just wanted to let you guys know a couple of things. The 2021 audit, which is actually listed later on in the agenda, but it just seems appropriate to discuss it at this point, is ongoing or in process. And they told us that for 2021, it would be $1,300, which is in line with what we paid for our 2020 audit. John has the engagement letter. Whenever you have that.
Are you sure I have that?
Well, I emailed it to you. I can resend it. Not
Yeah,
a
no, I'll
big
find
deal.
it. That's fine.
Okay.
I'll sign it, send it off. It's okay.
Okay, and if not, if I only, it possibly could be in my draft. So if you don't have it, let me know.
I would do.
Um,
But meanwhile, I'll make sure I look it over and sign it.
Okay, thank you. So that's the engagement letter for the 2021 audit, which I think we have just about everything over to them. If you haven't sent me your your fraud questionnaire, please do that. If you need it again, let me know. And so
Is
that's
that a
the-
new, is that a new certificate that we've done? It is, right? I don't recall doing one of those in the past.
I didn't
I don't
either.
mind.
I was going to ask the same thing. So that this must be just their process, and clearly the form doesn't fit us exactly, but
no.
yeah.
So I have done those fraud questionnaires in other audits through other auditors in the past. And my recollection was that they just asked me last year, if anyone has any fraud that they'd like to discuss, please make sure that they have contact with us. And I don't know if you remember, but I sent you guys an email and said, if
Mhm.
you have concerns, please go directly to our auditors with these.
Right.
And if-
I remember that. Yep. I
Yep.
remember that.
All good. So I think they just have formalized their process a little bit, but I have seen that, not that exact same questionnaire, but a similar one in other audits that I've done. So I suspect that's all that
The
is.
only reason they're a little weird is they're asking us to make a judgment as to whether our fraud protections are adequate.
Yeah.
I felt awkward. I mean, obviously I said yes, because I can't think of a way we can be defrauded unless, Gene, you and I get together and figure out a way of not signing checks.
That's,
But other than that, I can't, there's nothing.
that,
Yeah.
especially for an organization as small as we are, that's the protection that's all you can do is have
Yeah, okay.
multiple layers
Yeah.
and have checks and balances.
Yeah, okay. That's what I thought too. That's what I said. I can't imagine someone could issue in our name and us not know about it.
Yeah.
Perhaps.
I
Okay.
suspect that part of it is that they want to open up the conversation. They want us to be doing what we're doing right now, discussing it, and they want us to to really bring it to the forefront of your mind and think about it in case you go, wait a second, that what happened a couple of months ago didn't sit well, and I didn't really think about it, but I should. So I think that's what the process is for, an exercise.
And I also think it protects them to evidence that they've asked the question and they've gotten responses.
I think you're 100%. It's probably something that came up in some sort of a peer review
Yeah.
that they realized they should have been doing. So we got a form.
And yes, I did deduct the $40 that we got for the lunch from my reimbursement.
Yes, he did.
That was it. That was my chance. Sorry.
It's all good. But so that's the 2021 audit is the $1,300. They did tell me for 2022 that the fee is going up to $1,750, which is a notable increase compared to the increases we've seen. And I went back to them and just sort of questioned it a little bit. And what they said was they looked at the cost from last year and realized that they were effectively losing money on our audit, which I suspect they're going to, if that is still true, if that is true for this year, they'll lose money again this year. And I think they're just looking to make a little bit of money, honestly. I can't say that I blame them for next year, but it is a more significant increase than we've seen previously. So I wanted to make sure that I brought it to your attention prior to us appointing them for next year, for 2022, this year, sorry, for this year, because there is a difference. I'm not so sure that we're going to find somebody else who's willing to take us as a client and willing to charge us such a small amount.
I was going to ask you, in your experience, and it seemed like a relatively inexpensive audit from my perspective, from what I've seen. But then the organizations that, I sit on boards are much more complex.
Yeah.
But it did strike me as a very low number. But it is helpful also to hear your perspective.
I have experience with another organization that's small, but probably about 3 times the size of this.
Mhm.
And their audit fee is in the $3,000 range.
Mhm.
It
So-
is, we had difficulty when first we were looking for an auditor to find anyone who was willing to take us on.
Mhm.
Because it just isn't, I mean, literally, they do make no money. So I'm not at all surprised at this. I'm surprised we got away for as little as we paid for the last several audits, but I'm not surprised at this at all. And I certainly don't think it's worth our time and effort to go out and try and find another auditor who would have to charge something for the setup and wind up being right where we are at 1750. That's my guess.
Yeah.
I
But
think,
if
John, it's
anybody-
probably worth just making a call or two. Lisa, I'm glad to give you from CAST. We have an audit being done just for the file to say that we did call and got an indication of what it would cost.
Yeah, yeah.
Do
The
you-
cast audit, I'm sure, is far more complicated than ours.
Yeah.
It is, but our balance sheet is nothing here. I mean, the audit, quite honestly, is just their exposure.
I was going to say the same thing. It's their liability. So that, you know, that we're really paying for because there's not a lot of hours involved here.
Do you want to hold this resolution until our next meet? I don't think there's any, I think we could hold this until like September,
Yeah,
basically.
they're already, as soon as we sign the engagement, they're already engaged for this audit. So I think we should hold this and just ask around. I think that's a good idea.
Right, so we're already in the 2021 audit. We should sign that engagement letter and move ahead with that, and it's. the
Agreed.
2022 that.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
So
Okay,
I'm gonna hold this for our March agenda. And Steve, if you would share that contact information, and I can ask a few other auditors that I deal with and just see, you know.
I would literally just make 2 or 3 phone calls so the record shows we called and this is a good one.
Yeah, and it's not a bad idea to do anyway, periodically.
Yeah.
Okay, so whenever you can, shoot me an email.
I will during the call. I'm looking at my file.
It's no rush.
And full disclosure, they actually do a LLC return for me on my farm in Cutchogue, just so you know that. So
Okay, so we're going to hold that. So the next, thank you, everyone. The next item on the agenda is to adopt the required policies and documents. Do you want to do this as one resolution or do you want to take these individually?
let's do one resolution because we're not making any changes in any of them. They're exactly
Right.
the same as they were. Yeah.
I agree.
The only difference that we have to make, everything is as it stands on the website. The only one that we have to update is the mission statement and measurement report. And that is basically, hold on, I have it right here. That's basically the dates are going to change on it instead of being you know, for last year, it's going to be for this year. I think our goals have basically stayed the same. We'll continue to make our mission and capabilities to qualified not-for-profit organizations known. We'll comply with reporting and the various laws of New York State and the ABO. And then just supposed to make sure that you guys are aware of a few things, that you're aware of our mission statement, which, does anyone have any questions on our mission statement?
First thing you see on the website.
Yeah.
I read it actually.
Also, it's important. You know, just basically that you guys have the power to appoint management. If you do you follow, do you have a protocol and a policy that you follow when appointing management? Just our
Okay.
mission statement. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty basic, but I will have to update.
The dates. Yeah.
Okay.
No issues.
So the question, so the single resolution, I move that we adopt all of the policies and documents that we have had in the past as listed on the agenda, along with the mission statement as amended, as just described by our executive director.
I'll second that.
Aye.
I
Aye.
Aye.
All in favor, thank you. Okay, does anyone have anything else that they want to bring up for our annual meeting? Okay. The next item on the agenda is the minutes. They were previously sent. Does anyone have any questions or there was a correction that I caught, Jane, I'm sorry. And I sent them around again yesterday with the correction.
No issues. Thank you.
Do we have a motion to accept?
I'll move them.
Second,
Aye.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you. So we were going to, the next item on the agenda is an overview of our projects. We were going to have our new liaison, who is a new member of the town board, join us today. And one thing that he asked is that we do sort of an overview of our projects. Unfortunately, he was called into another meeting that he had to attend, and so he's unable to participate today. So that's the main reason that was on our agenda, was to give him an overview of our projects. I don't know if anybody wants to talk about it a little bit.
Are we sure there's no one on from the public, Lisa?
I can see there's nobody.
So, I mean, I think I wrote up a couple of.
John, just a dumb question. Being
Sure.
that this is recorded, can the public access it later?
Yes.
Okay, that's what I thought. So I didn't want to say anything different, John.
Yeah.
It will be posted on our website. All of our meetings are posted on our website, so you can go back and.
Sure, no, I'm sure you guys know what you're doing. I just figured that.
All right. Well, look, I'll just say, since our creation in 2014, with the purpose of providing assistance in financing projects of not-for-profit organizations located partially or entirely within the town, we have completed 2 projects, one in 2015 for Peconic Landing, one in 2019 for Eastern Long Island Hospital. A second project for Peconic Landing was an application was submitted, but it was withdrawn on advice of their counsel. But we kept the application fee because that was the rule, and Peconic Landing accepted that. And we continue to seek out other qualified projects that might be benefited by our assistance. I would have said more if Greg were here. And again, we don't have any active projects. San Simeon is not moving ahead at a size or manner in which we could be helpful. So we don't have San Simeon, and there may be others which we are continually exploring. That's all I would have said.
Does anyone have any questions?
No, but I do think it would be helpful to have this conversation with Greg, and I look forward to hearing his thoughts. And I mean, I guess I don't know if it makes sense to touch base with him in the interim in some way, that appropriate. Obviously, we can't do it as a quorum because it would have to be, public, but perhaps there's some written discussion we can have, or, to start the conversation to see if he has any thoughts.
So
He
he
reached
actually,
out, right? Yeah.
he reached out today and apologized for not being able to attend this meeting, but said that he would still like to have that conversation. So I asked him to get a couple of dates that would work for him, just to have a phone call. It doesn't, it doesn't have to be a formal meeting. And hopefully John and I think we can have one other or 2 other people.
If you want to join, Francis, we can try and set it up for the 3 of us are on the call.
Yeah, I would be delighted to.
Okay.
Greg actually in the past was one of our one and only public attendees at one of our meetings. And he came in, I think he was invited by Rona, but I'm not sure of that, but he came. And he was quite interested, and he asked a few questions, introduced himself, and stayed after the meeting to ask Bruce a few more questions. So I think he has some knowledge of what we do. I don't think anything has really changed since then. Again, I think broadly speaking, I don't think that the elected officials fully understand what we can do, what we're permitted to do, and how constrained we are. But, I certainly think that Greg should have the opportunity to ask us questions. And certainly, I know that many of us, including our former liaison, have been thinking and probing whether there are other things we could do and haven't really come up with anything that's compelling.
Yeah.
But if Greg has ideas, I think that'd be great. I'd love to hear him too. I mean, I
Yeah.
would much rather have a project to discuss at our organizational meeting or subsequent meetings.
Well,
we-
and if he were willing to share his insights with other, Southold town officials and members that, that help sort of spread the word that way, and help them appreciate more what the possibilities are, then at least we know that we've got eyes and ears out there.
Yeah. So again, Francis, if you want to join, I think we could probably accommodate that. But I think 3 would be the maximum, including Lisa. Otherwise, we're having a public meeting.
Right,
We have to
exactly.
notice the call.
Right.
Which, if there were reason to do that, I suppose we could do that. There's no, there's nothing, but it's just more of a logistical
Yeah,
and
that's all it is.
administrative burden.
It just means that it has to be posted to our website.
Right,
Public has to have the option to participate, and minutes need to be done. There's
prepared,
no
right.
reason why it,
I would think Greg would be less interested in that call, but maybe I'm wrong. I don't know.
Well-
I thought we had a good discussion at the last, so I'm glad not to participate, guys.
So anyway, if anybody, if a third board member wants to participate, I think we should let Greg know that it would ultimately be a public meeting and see if
Right.
he's interested in that. For a
Um,
one-on-one, it's a call.
so we can also have an initial conversation with him where we tell him about what it is that we do and what we have done. And then if he's able to attend our next board meeting, maybe we could sort of.
And have a public discussion. Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Okay.
Okay, all right, so,
I just wanted to make it clear that there's nothing, there's no need to hide anything or,
Right.
I just wanted to make that clear for the record.
okay,
Right.
yeah, just give him the opportunity to absorb what it is we do.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll let everybody know when I hear back from him with some dates, and if people are interested, we'll just move ahead.
Great.
Okay, so then the next item on the agenda is a few items that I wanted to bring back to your attention. Investments in banking. So at our last meeting, you charged me with doing some research and investing some money, and I hit a bunch of roadblocks. Basically, every time I reach out and try to get information, I learn that it's either too risky, ties the money up too much, and we're going to make pennies. Now, right now we're making 0. So pennies is more than 0, 100%. I understand that. But I haven't found anything that I feel like is actually a good fit for us. I did speak to the folks at Dime Bank, and what they suggested is that since we have our money in their bank already, that we open an investment account, which is just an additional account, and we can move our money. It's fluid. It can be shifted back and forth between the two accounts, and it's making a little bit of money. Nothing dramatic, but it's not risky either. So I'm bringing that back as a possibility to see,
This more like a money market account, Lisa?
Yeah, that's my understanding of it.
It's an
Is it a-
interest-bearing checking account.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's a check. I don't know if we would have checks from that account, but it would be tied to our checking account, so we could move the money, with a phone call or a click from one account to the other.
I guess my question is, what's the definition of an investment account? Because to invest it where it's paying a slightly higher rate of interest versus, I'm assuming they're not making investments on our behalf.
Well, that was going to be my question. Is it a
I don't-
sweep
I don't-
account?
It's-
Do
It's
they
first-
sweep the money in and out daily and essentially borrow it in the interim?
okay, I will get more information on it, but that is sorry about the,
The lovely sound.
it's just that it's loud, but this is the only place in my house that sort of makes sense. Sorry. I will get more definition on what it is that they have and bring it back to you at our March meeting. It's not, I don't think at this point that the last I spoke to them, which was a while ago, I think it was 0.04. So we're not talking about.
We're not losing a tremendous opportunity right now. And I think after this week's meeting, I think we're looking at movement in interest rates maybe in March. So
Yeah.
we're not,
Lisa, if you would check though, Amex Bank Online and Marcus, the Goldman Sachs, have online money markets that pay about 50 basis points.
still, yes, they do.
So I mean, if that's better than 0.04, and you can move that within a day, I think.
And is it,
It's
not
federally
listed.
insured, FDIC, all the good
FDIC
stuff.
insured, right?
You said it's Amex Bank?
Amex and then Marcus, which is Goldman
Marcus.
Sachs product.
Right. And either one of them, it's all online banking, so. And Marcus, I'm more familiar with, they have savings and they have CDs, so
Mhm.
if we don't want to tie the money up, I believe that savings account is still paying 50 basis points.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
I guess
I
it just balances out against, our desire to support sort of local community banks, but that's hard to do these days. There's,
Yep. A, there are very few of them, and B, they're
Yeah.
not competing for the money.
yeah,
Okay.
definitely worth looking at.
Yep, I will have that on our March agenda as well. Thank you. The next item on the agenda is the audit, which we basically discussed earlier. It's in process. I think we've gotten them everything that we need to. Steve, I don't know if I got your fraud questionnaire.
Ooh, do you mind resending that if I didn't?
Let me double check that. And yes, I will send it to you.
I promise I'll return it back.
You're not alone, Steve.
Thanks.
So that's basically, does anyone have any questions about the audit? It's in process at this point.
I do not.
Okay.
Oh, good.
Okay. The next item on the agenda is Paris. Steve, I was going to put this on anyway, but I just figured I'd tell you, we're taking a trip to Paris. I'm just kidding.
Only
Kidding.
long-standing board members though, Steve.
Kidding.
Sorry.
I'm glad you are, because mine's been canceled 3 times.
Oh,
My Portugal trip was canceled too. Oh, well.
World. But I put this on also because I thought Greg was going to be on, so I thought it would be a good opportunity to sort of tell him about this also. But Paris is the Public Authorities Reporting Information System. Annually, we are required to enter a series of information into it. And in March, when we have our audit committee meeting and our audit meeting, the board will be presented with the Paris as well as our audit. So those are some things that you will be tasked with reviewing and thank you, Jean, I just got that. And accepting, and it's due to New York State by the 31st of March, I think it's 30th, 31st, end of March it's due. And I have everything ready to send to our projects. I send questionnaires to our projects and they send everything back to me so I can enter it into Paris. And I just don't usually send it until February 1st. It just seems like the timing makes sense for them to have all of their end of year stuff and also not have it on their desk for so long that it gets forgotten. So that's going to go out in the next couple of days. And our next meeting, I'll have Paris to you in advance of our next meeting for your review. I just have to balance waiting for the audit because there's a bunch of information from the audit that goes into Paris. So that's Paris. Does anyone have any questions?
No.
No.
Oh, just, yeah, one question. Just have they gotten around to updating that program at all? I mean, it's I know it's difficult and clunky and no, sorry to hear that.
Remember the commercial with the Native American man with the one teardrop? That's when you say Paris. It's so it's painful to work in. It doesn't provide the information that they think it's
Right.
giving them. And part of it is that there's no direction. So I read the questions one way, but then I'll speak to a colleague who reads them another way. And so we're putting in different information. So
Yeah.
it's Paris is limited, but it is required and it's where we are. So
And there's no way to note there's nowhere to note something, about your interpretation or the fact that the question may not fit, our model exactly right or something like that. So it's, as you said, it's potentially misleading at worst and not necessarily informative at best.
there's a series of questions at the end of each project that are stated in a double negative. So
Mhm.
every time I read them, I have to go, wait. If
Yeah.
you say no, that actually means yes. But I don't know if that's what they meant. If they realized that when I say no to it, because I'm reading the question literally,
Yeah.
that I actually mean yes. So every time I fill them in, I go, oh no, I'm doing the best I can. That's what this question says. Is that what they meant? And that's
Yeah.
one example of a whole host of things that is just, they make you scratch your head and cry a little bit.
Yeah.
But it's ours, so well.
And that's why we hired you.
You guys
I'm
don't have
not
to-
tired of crying.
It's fine. It's not there's not so many projects, but it's a very clunky. It probably wasn't completely thought through. Even just little simple things like how you navigate on the screen. Sometimes you have to go all the way to the bottom of the screen to access something that's at the top of the screen. It's just
Mhm.
little things like that make it
Yeah.
difficult to maneuver, but it's fine. It is what it is.
It's definitely due for an update, but sorry, I didn't mean to go down that rabbit hole, but just hoping.
Collectively, Long Island's IDAs and LDCs have been saying for quite some time, and not just Long Island, everybody across the state has been saying for quite some time, we'd be happy to help you make this do what you think it does.
Right.
And they just don't seem to want to invest
Right.
in it. So
Right.
it is what it is, as they say. Okay, so that's Paris. Let me know if anybody has questions. Our Paris from last year is on our website and I can send it to you. I have years of data. So if anybody wants anything, just let me know. The next item on the agenda is board assessments. Again, thank you. John had a funny comment on that it's sent in anonymously, but since we're doing everything through email, it's sort of lost the I'll just shuffle them into a pile and I won't know who's supposed to.
Exactly.
So again, I think, Steve, I'm going to send that to you too, because I think I got everybody else's, but I'll double check that also. If I need one, I'll send you an email and remind you, but I think I have everybody's except for Steve's.
Perfect.
What was that?
Perfect.
Okay, thank you. The next item is a legislative update. Just wanted to let you know that I'm not sure how much longer we're going to be able to do Zoom meetings. I have heard rumblings that there is some legislation out there to make the Zoom option a permanent option, but I don't believe that has gained traction yet. It might, but for right now, we are allowed to do Zoom. It doesn't have to be Zoom, but something of this
Virtual.
Right.
virtual, thank you. until the end of the emergency. And right now, the emergency is through February 15th. So the governor might on February 14th push the emergency to, you know, March 1st or March 15th. I don't know. But for right now, we can do virtual meetings through February 15th. I'm going to wait to schedule our March meeting to see where things are fleshing out. But, you know, I can't wait too long because we have to have everything into the state by the end of March. So that's, I just wanted to kind of let you guys know where we are with virtual and legislation.
Thank you.
The other piece of the legislation, which I suspect impacts us less, but potentially might, is, but I don't really have a lot of information on it, is prevailing wage, the prevailing wage legislation. I think there will be an impact to LDCs as a result of this legislation. I don't know exactly how it's going to flesh out, but effectively the state, effective January 1st of this year, if you do a project that's over $5 million and 30% of your project costs, which there's a bunch of things that we're waiting on definitions, and I don't really know exactly what it means yet. If 30% of your project costs from that project are through loans, grants, tax deferred, tax exempt bonds, you'll be responsible, you'll be required to use prevailing wage on any construction rehab that you're doing. There's a whole bunch of things that the state is working on. They are currently appointing people to a public subsidies board. I think that's the name of this board. So I keep getting alerts. This person was named to it. That person was named to it. We do have Long Island representation named to it, which is a good thing. But it's sort of looming out there. I don't know how it's going to impact LDCs and how that's going to trickle down to us right now, since we don't have any projects that are imminent. I don't, I'm not too concerned about its impact, but I suspect it will have an impact on what we do. There are some carve outs to that. 100% affordable housing doesn't need to, is excluded from the prevailing wage. And I think some renewable energy is also excluded. There might be a couple of other caveats in it, but it's just something that you should be aware of.
Yeah, and just so everybody knows, that actually made a difference in our first project.
Mm.
Because the other potential issuers that Peconic Landing might have used had a prevailing wage requirement, and we didn't.
Mm.
And that's not only the reason we were selected, but probably the reason we were created. So I don't know how much of an advantage it was. I never asked that question to try to ascertain whether that particular advantage for Peconic Landing was greater than tax exemption. I didn't ask, but it was clearly a part of our selection, of their selection process. So it actually could make some difference on projects. Of course, if everybody has to impose it, then it won't make any difference. But
Right.
Peconic came to us specifically because we didn't apply a prevailing wage requirement.
But it'll make a difference if projects say either we can't afford to do this, we're not
Right.
planning on building, growing our business. And that has a much larger impact beyond us. That's just a sort of a statewide impact. And then it also might make a difference if projects say we're on the edge, but that tips us away from coming through
Yeah.
an LDC.
Yep.
We'll do a
Yeah.
smaller project. We'll wait a year till we can raise more money. So it's something we should be aware of, and I am tracking it. I just don't have a lot of answers for you right now.
Okay. You might want to maybe prepare a letter that we could sign, trying to somehow get an exemption, but if you think about it.
We can't get an exemption.
No, there's nothing. There's nothing we can do to suggest that. That's fine.
It's it was put in to the 2020 budget, not to come into effect until, hold on, do I have my years right? 2020, not to come into effect until January 1st of this year. Maybe it was 2021. Those years are a little bit foggy to me. I don't know about everybody else, but so sorry.
Lisa, can the minutes show that your clock isn't accurate?
You see, you know what it takes to get a clock like this accurate? It's crazy.
It is crazy. I have
Right. So what,
Yeah.
it thinks it's 11 o'clock. I can move it back when we get off.
no
Periodically,
worries.
I
Okay.
fix it and it just slows down again. You can change something, but I've tried and it still doesn't work. It goes too fast. It's, I wouldn't set my watch by it. So I will keep you posted. I will do my best to stay informed on this. It's just been a very slow process. I mean, we're 28 days into this year and the state still hasn't provided direction, definitions, this board. So there's a lot of wait and see with it.
Okay.
Okay, so
Executive session. Let me
Executive
let me
session.
quickly go. I propose an executive session because if you read the board assessments, you'll notice that one of our little things, which I'm sure we all diligently check, is that we review our employees annually and provide them feedback. And I realize we probably didn't do that. At least I've never done that formally, certainly for Bruce. I don't think we really formally done it for you either, although I think giving you a raise gave you a pretty good sense of how we perceive
Yeah,
it.
and I would say that there was, discussion around that. So
Correct.
I think that constitutes a review.
Well, what I'm going to do actually is just do a little grid, much like that board assessment, and I'll send it around. And it can be anonymous or not. I'm going to keep them myself. And if there's anything, if I find anybody has a strong sense of needs improvement, then we will have a discussion with Lisa as to those topics. All right. And none of them will be clock management. I promise you, Lisa.
out of my control.
But so there's,
Clock management.
I'll put something together, which I've already got drafted in front of me, and send it around and just ask each of you to do like a 1 to 5, with 5 being the best. And then just let me know how you perceive her. Again, I know how I'd fill it out, but you may have different impressions. And that'll be I think if we do that along with the board assessment in the future, only those go to the chairman rather than to the executive director. I think that will be adequate. And again, nothing will be done with these unless there's a significant number of what I would call needs improvement checked, which I doubt there will be on this particular one. Okay. That was the purpose of executive session. I don't think we need to have one under the circumstances.
I will tell you though, I'm glad that it came up because it prompted me to get us a conference call number.
Yeah.
There was
Oh,
no.
good.
So now we have a conference call number, which certainly will make it easier when we meet with the councilman or a project. So I sent around the call-in number. If anybody wants, there's a host number also. I didn't want to cause confusion by including it in there, but there's we have it available if anybody needs to use it.
Was that attached to one of your recent emails?
If you scroll down on the
It's on the
email
top, yeah.
that I sent last night, maybe
Yeah.
5-ish.
It's down there. Okay.
Yeah, it's down there. I
Down
saw it.
there.
Yeah, I saw it.
I
down
saw the attachments and I got stuck there, I guess.
there.
It just basically said that I was under the assumption that we would be going into executive session. So I thought about the cleanest way to do it would be for me to stay here in case anybody from the public comes in, for you guys to leave this, get on a call with the conference call number, and then join back in when you were done. So, but we have it for the future, and it may come in handy. It's not a bad thing to
Yeah.
have. So
But I also think a written record of our review would be useful for the future. So we'll
Yeah.
figure out how to retain it without making it public, but we'll figure that out. But meanwhile, the chairman will have every year had an annual review of the numerous employee that we engage.
it's going to be
Okay.
busy. It's going to be a lot of work for you.
I know, I'm almost done already. That's
So
all.
So that was the executive session item on the agenda. The next item is just that we to have an audit committee meeting and an audit meeting to go over Paris and our audit. So I don't know, given the virtual option and the uncertainty of it, do we want to try and schedule something tentatively now? Do you want to wait?
I think we should try and schedule something so that if things happen as we hope, which is Zoom gets extended, we already have a time and date set up. I suspect that some of you, Jean, and probably you, Francis, will have difficulty if we're stuck doing a regular formal in-person meeting, right? I mean, I think that would be a ridiculous thing to force everybody to do. So I doubt.
The
it
only
will
question,
happen.
John, can we delegate this to a committee? Like we can authorize two of us and then we don't have to have a formal meeting?
Well, right now, our committee has all of us other than Jean for like the audit
Right.
committee.
I'm just thinking it's the three that makes us make it a formal meeting, right?
Right, right. I'm just saying the committee is made up of 3 people.
And
Right, but for the audit, could the committee designate, maybe 3 is enough? I don't know, Lisa.
so I don't count in those numbers. You need
Right.
3 board members to have a quorum. So we would need 3 of you to be able to attend, and once we have 3 of you, the committee can make the recommendation to the full board, and the full board can accept the recommendation. So we need 3.
Yeah.
And then 3 dictates it has to be a board meeting. Is that
Yes.
correct?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
God forbid we meet each other in the grocery store.
Yeah, God, yes.
Well, so my other question about, or a question about scheduling is, when will we have what we need from the auditors?
Traditionally or historically, they always need more time, no matter what we do. They want
Right.
kind of to the wire. So I don't,
So
I
I
would-
guess later in March.
yeah. And then there's that balancing act of right now, the governor has the emergency ending February 15th, which makes me think, and I could be totally wrong, that if she's going to extend it, it would be to March 15th, but then we're caught in that sort of back and forth with the auditor.
Mhm.
Let's just schedule tentatively one of the last 2 Fridays in March, and we'll deal with it.
Yeah.
All right. So
Okay.
I don't have any preference on these last 2 Fridays in March.
It's
If
the
anybody
18th
does,
or
just let
20th.
Lisa know. And for the time being, we'll assume it's not an in-person meeting. And if things change, then they'll change, and we'll figure out how to deal with it.
So does the 18th or the 25th look good to everybody? I think those are the last.
Yes, they
Yeah.
are.
Perfect.
Yeah, I'm good for
Yeah.
either one of those.
I mean, as things stand now, I am, but yeah, obviously things can change, but
It is hard now because with only 4 of us and with 3 of us, anybody who starts to have an issue with either of those 2 dates, just let Lisa know as soon as you know. So
Yep.
that we schedule something as early as we can for notice purposes, but still have flexibility, because it is more difficult. I mean, we can't fix that until we get a new board member.
Which
And yes,
brings up a good point. Should I ask the town board to
Yes.
run that ad again?
I assume they've had no respondents.
I haven't been informed of anybody.
Yeah, then I suppose we should run it again, right? I mean,
John, just a housekeeping, can we give our proxy to another board member?
not to the best of my knowledge. I've never heard anybody do that.
There.
Lisa, do you mind checking that just in case one of us has to flake the other guy? You know what I mean?
but I'm not sure even if we could do that, which I think may be possible, but it doesn't necessarily count towards a quorum.
That's the problem I see.
Uh,
also.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's not.
Have
Yeah.
to have, or virtually.
Okay, you're right.
Yep.
3 of the
Okay.
4 members. Honestly, even if we had the 5th seat filled, we would still have to have 3 of the 5 members.
Yeah, I know.
Yes,
But
of course.
that means 2 wouldn't have to be there, whereas
Right. It
right
gives it
now, if
a little
2
more
can't be there,
flexibility.
we're like,
yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So should we hold which one from an audit perspective makes more sense, the 18th or the 25th?
I can ask the auditors. I
Okay.
suspect to say the 25th, but
I'll make sure I get the engagement letter out, Lisa,
okay.
just because if you do me a favor, just resend it, because I think I would have noticed it if I'd seen it, but if you resend it, then I'll get it back today.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, so we'll shoot for the 25th.
Good.
Leave the 18th in case there's the other thing that we can also consider is it doesn't have to be on a Friday.
If it's a Zoom meeting, you're right. Well, that's true for me. I don't know if it's true for everybody.
Yeah, if it's an in-person, then Fridays are best,
Yeah.
best likelihood.
What I was thinking was that if it goes until, let's say, March 15th, we could do a meeting on March 15th or March 14th, which is the 14th is a Monday, if the auditors can be ready. Some moving pieces, but
Okay.
we'll figure it out.
Well, I guess the other thing is if it is in person, then we have to hold the board meeting, the boardroom. We have to get on the schedule for the boardroom.
Yes, and as long as nobody's picky about the room, there is some flexibility in
Okay.
where the town can find us space. So
Okay,
they've been willing to work with us in the past. I wouldn't expect that would change. And honestly, if there's a problem and they can't host us at the town, there's nothing that says that we can't have it someplace else. A library, a coffee shop, a restaurant, like as long as we post where we're going and it's accessible to the public, it would work. Obviously, town hall lends a little formality and
has the screen and the equipment.
yes, definitely. But we do have fallback positions if something were to go wrong. But I think they've got plenty of spaces. I've never really had a problem finding a room. Might not be the room we necessarily our first choice, but there will be space available to us, is my experience at least. Does anyone have anything else? Okay, do we want a motion to end the meeting?
So moved?
Seconded.
11:23, Francis and John, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, thank you, everybody. Have a
Thank you very
wonderful
much.
day.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Pleasure seeing everybody again.
Good luck
Take
with the
care.
snow.
All right. Yeah, really. I've left for the city, Francis.
Oh, well, let me know
Sorry,
if
I'm
you
up
need
in
us to
PV.
do anything.
Duchess is gonna get nothing. We're gonna get like 2 inches.
Yeah,
And you guys are gonna get buried, unfortunately.
Yes.
Maybe
Good
not.
luck.
thank you.
All
Bye,
right.
guys.
Everyone,
All right,
Bye.
everybody. Thanks.
Bye.
bye.